Hello, welcome to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's session, we have an amazing guest. We're going to be talking to Katie Mares. Did I say that correct? Is it Mares?
Yeah, I get Mars, Mares. It's all good. Either one. I'm happy. Yes, it's fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for joining. You know, I actually had the opportunity to watch you, speak at the Rockstar On Conference event. I believe it was last year here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And yeah, I was really, really impressed with your speech. It really made me think a lot. And I thought you had some very valuable insights. So I'm stoked that you're on the show, and we're going to be able to kind of dive deep a little bit more. So thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, it's such an honor to be able to share this knowledge and the fact that you love what I have to say. So it is the honor and the pleasure is all mine.
Right on. Thank you. And let's kick things off with your background. That's always the first question I ask, just so we can kind of establish your experience and, get things rolling.
Yeah, for sure. I have a pretty colorful professional background. I actually started in retail, in shoes. Way back when, about 15 years ago. I am a self-proclaimed shoeaholic, where I just love and adore shoes at every level. So that obsession started when I worked back in retail, 15 to 17 years ago, where I designed stores. I was in merchandising and eventually took over the operations department where I designed customer experience programs. So from shoes, I actually went to teeth. So from feet to teeth, I entered the specialty medical industry, and I built Canada's first online educational platform for the dental industry. So I fell in love with the patient experience as well as helping others know more so that they can do more. Because I believe if you don't have the tools, how can you possibly do anything bigger or better in life? So I did that, and I was there for about a year, and then I went to a smaller corporation, a dental corporation, where I was able to build it from 6 clinics to about 23 clinics, and all the training that went along with it, and the patient experience. And in and around between my transition, I started to speak. And I started to consult independently with an organization called the Julius Group out in the US. And that's where my speaking and my ability to work with these really wonderful organizations to develop customer experience programs came to life. I loved it so much. It was kind of my side hustle. My vacations, my sick days, any personal day was all spent traveling, working with these clients so that I could learn the craft. And then I would go work full time as managing director of operations for this corporation.
Wow.
So I had been, recruited by North America's largest dental consulting firm as their COO. But there was one stipulation, and that was that I would only go over 80% of the time. So I carved out 1 week a month to build my dream. And about 6 months into working as the COO of this company, we turned things around, we tripled sales, and it was a very toxic environment that I went into, and we changed the culture like a complete 180. And but I was on a stage with 800 medical professionals watching me, and I was launching a customer experience program. And it was in that moment in Florida on that stage that I had made the decision that I was going to go all in with me. And so that night, I hit send on my resignation letter, and I opened up Katie Mares Consulting, and I went, all eggs in my basket. And ever since then, I have had just an amazing honor to work with some of the finest organizations across the globe. How I got into automotive, so shoes to teeth to automotive.
It's just a natural transition, yeah.
Right? Like it all makes sense.
Yeah.
At least in my head it does. No, I had a really, really awful car buying experience. It was so bad. It was summer 3 years ago. So what are we? Are we 2020 already? So like summer 2017. I'll never forget the day because the air conditioning in my house broke down. So it was hot and sticky. And here in Toronto in July, it is just like, if you don't have AC, then you are like it's not a dry heat, it's a humid heat. It's just awful. I have 3 kids. So that night that the air conditioning was broken, none of my kids slept, but I was not going to let that stop me from finally getting a second family vehicle. So there was only one vehicle. I have 3 children who are the ages at the time, from the age of 6 to the age of 3, but all entering into sports. And I had one vehicle to get us all around. It was mayhem. So that day was a big day for me because I was like, I'm going to go out. I purchased the first vehicle and I had made the decision that it was time to purchase the second vehicle. So we drove out of the driveway and headed to the auto mall. And of course, I turn around and I ask the kids, please be good when we go in there. Don't jump in the cars. Please listen. Don't run around. The whole, right. Please, Lord, let them be good speech that parents give. Yeah. that speech. It didn't work at all because the moment the door opened, they beelined it for the dealership doors. They literally ripped the doors open. And what's the first thing that kids do? They hop into cars, right? So they're in the cars, they're honking horns, they're putting fingerprints everywhere, and car doors are slamming. As a mom, I cringe because I'm so afraid that those little fingers are going to be stuck between those 2 pieces of metal. So I walk towards them and make sure they're okay. They're literally hanging out of sunroofs. No one's paying attention to me, but my husband at the time was walking in behind me, and he got served right away. He got greeted. They did the whole needs assessment, everything else for him. And I'm not even joking, 18 minutes goes by. And not one single person has come to me. 18 minutes.
Wow.
Right. So I'm following my kids from car to car, and I could see out of the corner of my eye that, my husband's looking at this black sporty number that we'll never buy because we're looking for an SUV because, we have 3 kids. But he's being serviced. So about 18 minutes into the experience, I shouldn't even say it was an experience, into the time I was in the dealership, a young gentleman walked up to me, and he walked up to me, kind of looked nervous. He was looking at me, and then his eyes were darting between me and the car that my kids were in. Like, you could obviously see he was annoyed with the fact that they were jumping around and, causing a big, crazy scene. He says, well, hello, what are you here for? And I literally laughed out loud. I was like, well, I'm here on a Saturday with my 3 kids just for the fun of it. Like, no, I'm here to buy a car. I don't know. Like, why else would I be in a showroom? And he goes, well, the first question he says to me, you want to take a guess what it is?
It's something about your husband?
So he says, is your husband with you? Is your husband with you?
Whoa.
I was like, okay, so breathe deeply, Katie, right? So I say, well, yes, he's right over there looking at that vehicle. I said, and before I could say, but I'll be purchasing the vehicle, he says, well, should we call him over? He cuts me off mid-sentence.
Oh man.
So I right, it was just all the wrong things. And car buying experiences are not the best as it is. And so I was excited for this. I had a $70,000 budget. I wanted a nice SUV with 3 rows that fit my kids and hockey equipment and soccer equipment and extra people and extra friends and a dog and everything else, right? I knew what I wanted. And so he interrupted me. So I looked at him and I said, well, actually, I'll be purchasing the vehicle, but I won't be purchasing it from you. I rounded my kids up. I went to the dealership front doors. I just gave my husband a look, and he followed quickly right after. And we got into the car. I am telling you, without a word of a lie, he looked at me, he turned the car on, and we went to a different dealership. I went to 7 dealerships.
Wow.
7.
Oh, that's nuts.
And I got treated like that in every single one of them. So that night, I went out excited. I left completely deflated. Thank goodness someone came to fix my air conditioning because that helped me cool down. So while the house was cooling down, I was cooling down. We put the kids to bed, and I started researching the automotive industry and the customer experience. As a customer experience expert, I couldn't believe that the second largest purchase a human being makes, and for millennials, it's the largest purchase because right now nobody's even purchasing homes, they're renting homes. So it's the largest purchase that a human being is making today. We are being given, at best, a service, at best, but not an experience. And then further to that, I could not believe that inequality still existed to that degree in industry. And so, I mean, down the rabbit hole I went with research. And I mean, I made it my mission that night to change the industry from a customer experience point of view, but also from a female perspective. And that's what, my book comes out in, September. And it's called Earning Her Business, The Importance of Tailoring the Brand Experience to the Female Consumer. And it's all about the research-based information on why she is the decision maker and how to earn her business. But then also to that is the 5-star experience, bringing the outside world into automotive so there can actually be a change. Because I believe that if you keep doing the things the way you're doing it, not you in particular, I'm talking about the industry, right. It's going to stand still just like it has for forever. There's been no change. We're still that, old boys club that, there are a few progressive dealers out there. I'm not saying that there aren't, but the majority have just stood still. So from shoes to teeth to cars, I am now building my career with the mission to change the experience so that customers actually enjoy purchasing a vehicle. And with that, hopefully changing the experience for women as consumers, but also women as employees.
Yeah, I really like that, and I kind of wanted to kick things off here with that the question based on trust, right? So that's an issue within the industry within itself, right? But when we're talking about the female shopper, I mean, look at your experience and how much of an issue that was. Obviously, you can refocus that as a dealership. There's a huge advantage in that, like a huge differentiator, right? So how does that play into what dealers can do today? Because everybody talks about the experience. It's kind of like a buzzword, in my opinion.
It is.
Nobody really acts on it. You know what I mean? Everybody talks about it, but nobody's really trying to twist things around and do things differently. How do you foresee that? Building that trust with or maybe focusing on the female shopper as a way to differentiate yourself within the automotive industry?
Well, I mean, here's the beautiful thing. I call this beautiful because, I mean, the perception of the industry is so low, you can only go up from here, right? So, I mean, you can take the lowest hanging fruit and change the smallest thing and have the biggest impact, because consumers, although we are conditioned to have better experiences, because of Starbucks and Nordstrom's and Chick-fil-A and all these great places, Disney, that give us all of these amazing experiences, Amazon, unfortunately, the industry is still holds a bad perception. So we are kind of caught in this catch-22, is where the customers want more, but we're not willing to give it to them, which is actually good on our end because they're still kind of expecting the crappy service that they're getting. So there's not a lot you have to do to actually make a big impact. So I did an independent study with 1,200 women who had purchased a vehicle in the last 1 to 2 years. And I asked, 86% of them went in with a man because they didn't feel comfortable shopping by themselves. And that 86%, 100% of them said the man was greeted first. 100% of that 86% said that the man was greeted first.
Wow, that's insane.
So if I could say there's one thing a dealer could do different, or sales associates could do different, is tweak the greet. Like, get out there and stop, stand, smile, and speak. Sit there, and not just for him. And I'm not saying you need to even greet her, but we need to greet them. Does that make sense? Like, you need to change it from a me to a we, from him to us. We want to be treated with equality. It doesn't mean that we need to be, don't get me wrong, I'm pro-woman, but I'm not a feminist. I don't think it should just be women, because I believe men and women are put on this earth for a reason, but we do have to start treating each other as equals. And so the greet is like the first thing. And if they just change the greet, so the greet leads to rapport building, right? So it leads to trust. So if you could change the greet, then you already have the woman who doesn't trust you, the man who semi-trusts you, more open-minded. So she's already open a little bit more because the sales associate has shown them both respect. And when they start the conversation, so of this 86%, 68% of them said the sales associate did not spend time to get to know them. They got to know the man. That same 68% said, I don't trust them. So we got to change the greet to open the door to create rapport and a relationship. And then once you've put your foot through that door, get to know both of them, not just him.
Yeah, it's crazy because I don't know. I'm just maybe I just think about it differently. But if I were, if that was my up, so to speak, you know what I mean? Like just my mindset says that, the women's going to be the biggest influentiator there. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just in my household, but like I would focus there because I know that, if I can sell her on it, then she's going to be able to probably influence that decision. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's very interesting that you say that, and it makes a lot of sense that, the greed is such an important part of that, of that process, and if you do that, if you just change that, what an impact that can have on the whole deal.
Yeah.
So, what about, I don't want to say gimmicks, but what about kind of these movements like Auto Nation with the pink and all that stuff? I mean, do you think that I can see it on your face already. So what are your thoughts on that? You know what I mean? Because to me, that's like, I mean, I get it, but it's kind of like the wrong, I don't know. It just doesn't, I would do that a little differently for me.
Well, yeah, I agree. So pink isn't the solution unless we are raising money for breast cancer. Period. So pink is not the solution for to attract more women. It just isn't. Women want to see, so this is something that I believe holistically in, and I just finished rewriting this chapter in my book. I believe that if you don't have a culture where women want to work, women are not going to want to shop with you. Women want to see women like themselves, whether in an advertisement or within an organization, succeeding, being treated well. They want to see them happy. So pink doesn't do it. You have to actually take a look at the women you're serving and create, whether it's marketing or advertising or a culture within the dealership that matches what women can relate to. And they want to see that you care and empower other women. That would lead to almost instant credibility and trust. So no, pink is not a solution. It actually it detours us. I mean, unless it's for a cause like breast cancer, then we get it. Pink, totally get that. But these hot pink things that we see out there, because it's got a stripe of pink on it, doesn't mean that it's female friendly.
Right. And okay, so kind of developing that, because you touched on a good point here with the marketing side of things. Obviously, digital. I mean, we all know the importance and the impact that has in the industry. How can we tweak that to appeal to our female audience as well, or make that, how do I say, more engaging, if you will? I mean, people are spending already as consumers a lot of time digitally. Mm-hmm. Like, is there any way to maybe differentiate ourselves in that realm as well?
For sure. So women are the original social media, period. We have just been given a megaphone now called the World Wide Web and all these lovely social media applications that we can share our stories. But women originally, I mean, right from the beginning of time, will talk about, all their experiences or their stories. They will share their stories with as many people who will listen. And now you've got the entire world listening to you. So what I say is use that to your advantage. If you have women working in your dealership, get them on video, get them with their customers, get them sharing why it's so great to work there. Put them out on social media and put them out in front, that women can see that women like themselves are growing, developing, they're respected, they're honored, especially female sales associates. Like, get them on social media, because women actually consume more social media than men do. And we are on there constantly checking it out. From a digital marketing perspective, it is all about the story you tell. So, all of us, men and women, make decisions based off of our limbic brain, right? Which is the emotional and memory hub of our brain. So we don't make decisions, I know we like to think we do, off of like facts and figures. So all the lovely features and benefits of our vehicles, That's not what we make our decision on. We make our decision based off how we feel in the vehicle, based off of how the sales associate has made us feel. The reason why I say this, because it's the same for both men and women, but it's more impacted with women because our limbic brain is double the size of yours. So we feel more, we remember more. So if you ever wonder if your like wife, girlfriend, a daughter remembers a fight like from 5 years ago in grave detail and can't let it go, it's because we're built that way. Like that's the way we're built. So you want to be able to, in any of your advertising, you want to share a story that will connect with her emotionally. You want to, when she's in your dealership, connect with her emotionally. And a great way to do that is to use the women that are already there. Like use the tools that you already have and get her to see what you're already doing.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I consult with dealerships, and one of the things that I do is I do content creation, and I was doing this was a couple of years back when I started doing videos and stuff. And I showed them to my wife as a, hey, what do you think about this sort of a deal? And she looked at it for a minute, and I could tell she was a little reserved in giving me her feedback. And then when she finally did, she was like, it looks good and everything, but we don't spend our time looking at the car. We spend most of our time inside the car. So if it were me, like I would want you to kind of tweak that to spend, show me more of the inside of the vehicle, not so much on the outside. So,
well, and that's where she's going to emotionally connect because that's where her kids are going to be. That's where she's going to be. How does she feel comfortable? Like it's all about feeling, not about the beautiful streamlined, shape of the body of the vehicle. It's not about don't get me wrong. We like nice looking vehicles as well, but that's not what will drive us to make a decision.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Okay, so kind of moving things along here a little bit. Let's kind of move it onto the inside part of the dealership, right? Like the employee side, right? Because obviously, no, it's not a secret. Right? There's definitely is disparity the right word between?
There's a huge gap.
Right. So, but before we talk about the specifics within the dealership, let's talk about the perception, right? Because that's always the big thing. There's a stigma, obviously, within the industry, and it's sad to say that still in 2020 that's the case. But do you think that that's the main reason why there's not as many, just engagement with women trying to join the industry? Do you feel that that maybe there's not only the perception of trust, but also maybe that it's too aggressive or something like that? Or it's dominated by men. Is that?
I think all of the above for sure. But definitely, I've just come into the industry 3 years ago, right? I've never sold a car. I've never worked at a dealership. I'll never pretend that I have. I think that's the beauty of what I bring into the industry is I have this outside perspective. But oh my goodness, is it intimidating? The thing that I learned very quickly is that if you can have a few gentlemen follow you along and support you, then you can pave a path much, much quicker. Unfortunately, though, there's a lot of women out there that don't have, I say it as it is. And so I have the gumption to get out there and just put myself in front of people, but not a lot of women do. And so this whole perception keeps them from speaking up, and it keeps them from taking chances and taking risks. A big thing is flexibility, like a huge, flexibility in time. She's still going to need to be mom, and she's still going to need to, be able to do certain things. It doesn't need to be bell to bell. So I think, dealerships need to take a look at their benefits a little bit. I think we need to be open to, and this is men and women really, but need to be open to shift work and clienteling. And, if she's going to sell, and I'm telling you, every female sales associate I have ever met has outsold a man every single time. But she doesn't have to work hard. She doesn't have to be bell to bell. She finds creative ways to do it, and she still outsells the gentleman. So I think making it more approachable from the needs of what a female, to provide the benefits towards the needs of what a female is looking for is a big deal. The other thing is there's a big perception, and unfortunately, I don't know how this is going to change. On women getting harassed in the dealership, and the fact that it is not just women may apply and they may put themselves out there, but then that it really stops there, because the gentlemen in the dealership are afraid to hire attractive women, and the puck stops there. And unfortunately, if a woman fortunately does get through, she's always second guessing herself, because she doesn't know, if she's being seen as, a great worker or a beautiful woman. And on the flip side, men are afraid to hire us now, because I don't want to go into the hashtag Me Too movement, because that's a whole other topic that's very controversial. I'm not pro hashtag Me Too. I think it actually outshadows all the victims that need attention. But what it's done is it's taken us 3 steps backwards, because now men, especially in these male-dominated industries like automotive, they are now afraid to hire us because they don't want a lawsuit. So what I've heard happening is when a female walks in to drop a resume, people are actually saying, the men are actually saying that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Wow. Man, that's terrible.
Isn't it?
Yeah, man, that's so bad. I mean, you said something earlier that I wanted to develop here on this portion, and you were talking about using the employee's input in order to come up with strategies to differentiate yourself. Mm-hmm. And what a disadvantage it is that we don't have that right within our dealerships, and we don't, you know what I mean? Like it's so off kilter, it's just, there's no balance there. And so we lose a lot of that perspective. Yes,
but there's a couple of ways you can do it. So every dealership has about 3 or 4 females. They may be, I like to call them director of first impressions. So your front desk, they may be your greeter. They may be a service advisor. They may be in the F&I office. You do have females working in dealerships. So use them and involve them. There's a couple of things that does. Number 1, it gets them involved so they feel important. Number 2, you're getting the female perspective, which means because they feel important and they've given some advice on how to change it, you're going to change the culture, which is going to create more engagement for them and also create a better environment where females might actually want to work for you. So there's that. So work with, even if you only have 1 female, work with her, ask her. Get her to secret shop another dealership as a customer, as a woman, and get her to bring back the advice. Like there's so many different ways you can do it. The other thing that you could do is actually hold if you were to tell your female customers that you're trying to improve the culture of your dealership and you wanted to do a 1-hour session where you bring them in, you serve them champagne, and you ask them what they need as a female consumer, you would get everything you need for the price of a few bottles of champagne.
Wow, that's brilliant. Oh my God, that's such a good idea. I love that.
Right?
Yeah, that's such a good idea.
You don't need an expensive focus group. You don't need to talk to expensive, marketing firms to figure that out for you. Women want to be part of change. Women want to see that they are able to help things become better. Like they're caring individuals like that. And when you add, champagne into the mix, we're always mostly ready to be right there. Yeah. But make it classy, a classy event where it's an informational night that we want to know how to become better for you. And let them speak up, and then take all that information. But here's the key. If you're going to ask your female associates, do something with the information. Because if you don't, you're going to lose their trust even more. Yeah. If you're going to ask your female consumer for how they want to be treated, do something with the information. If you are not willing to actually move into action, you are better off doing nothing.
That makes sense.
You're going to break trust. Yeah. Just better off stay as you are.
So okay, so on the hiring side of things, right? Like kind of going along this theme, is there in your opinion, right? What are some just as a leave behind for the audience? What are a couple of steps or a couple of things that we could start doing internally to make it more friendly and appealing, right? To encourage a female audience to apply and to, develop their careers within the industry. And number two, once they're in, because that's the thing. I mean, I know some dealers that do a good job at, making it comfortable for people, for women to apply and to join. But then once that happens, it's like, kind of like, there's no follow-up, there's no follow through, you know what I mean? And so then they see a lot of turnover, because after like 2 weeks or so, it's just too much, you know what I mean? So, how can we kind of balance those two out?
Oh, I mean, that's a loaded question. So, part one, how do you get more women to apply? Well, as I said, you want to make sure you use the females in your dealership, share their stories as to why they like working there. So get that out on social media, like pronto. And actually, let me back it up one step. Make the decision that you want to be different. I think that's first. Make the decision that you are pro equality. Because once that decision is made, and again, you have to really commit to it. Because if you don't commit to it and you do, excuse my language, but a half-assed job, you're going to lose trust on all fronts. So make the commitment that this is an initiative you're taking on, and you don't have to do it fast. I mean, you could take baby steps, but make that commitment and then make the plan. From there, you want to attract more, female candidates. You want to attract more female consumers. Share the stories. So get them out on social media. Tell them, why they love working with the dealership, what types of benefits there are to women. Get those stories out there if they exist. Do not fabricate them.
Yes.
Don't fabricate them, because if you fabricate them and they come in, you're going to get the turnover, right? So that's probably why we're doing really well at attracting them. But share the stories that are real. I always say, when I work with companies and we start to develop these customer experiences, disappointment is expectations not met. So the disappointment is an expectation not met. So the worst thing that we could do is set an expectation that we are the best dealership to work for, that we are pro equality, that we're amazing, we have all these benefits, and then an employee starts and we don't live up to it. Disappointment equals a loss in trust. And then you get your turnover. That's why we have like 70% turnover in the industry. It's ridiculous. It's super high. So that's why that happens. You're better off being truthful and setting an expectation that you can live up to. So that's why I say, make the decision to do it, plan to get it done, and when you do share stories, share your stories that are the truth. Like, don't fabricate them. Share stories. The next thing is, tweak your job descriptions. Take a look at your job descriptions for a couple of things. Your mission. So women want to be a part of something that's bigger than them, that's going to contribute to the world. So take a look at your mission, your vision. What is at the top of your job description? Is it your values, or is it the fact that you expect to sell 100 vehicles a month? So take a look at that. Take a look at the qualifications on your job descriptions or your job ads, because qualifications, men, like 100% of men, even if they don't think they can do 100% of the qualifications, they're going to take a chance at it. They're going to say, yes, I can do it, and then they're going to figure it out. Women, on the flip side, need to feel like they can achieve 100% of the qualifications for them to even apply. So if you've got on this job ad that it's bell to bell, 100, vehicles a month, and this and that, all these things that they don't think that they can do, they won't even apply. So take a look at the job descriptions or your job ads with thought and care in mind, in terms of your mission, your vision, your purpose, your values. Take a look at it for your qualifications and make sure it speaks to both men and women. And lastly, take a look at the language you're using, because words have power and they hold meaning. And for women, they hold more meaning. So make sure that, women communicate with both our right and our left side, logic and creative. So those words have a big impact in the decision of whether or not they should even apply. So use female-friendly words that are softer, that are a little, smoother around the edges. We don't want to hunt or gather or eat our clients. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to be a killer sales associate that is starving and hungry. I don't want to eat our clients, but we do want to inspire and and create relationships, and we want to develop long-term clientele that's going to refer us. And do you see the difference in the language?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
those are three great ways to, I mean, in just your job description, your job ad, to appeal more to women.
Yeah, you know, one of the biggest things that I liked about what you said right now is, well, there's two main takeaways, but the main thing is commitment, right? You know, you gotta, if you're gonna do this deal, you gotta commit to it and make sure that you adopt that. There's just no other way. You can't just do it on the front, and then once that person is in, then you completely fumble it, you know, because then you get the turnover, and not only that, but then, you know, they're gonna tell that to others, and it's just gonna be you know. So and then the other part I loved actually what you said about creativity, because I do see that a lot, you know. I see the women more, you know, just being more creative as far as trying to find their that customer and engage with that customer. But I also see, and you know, I don't know if this is going to balance out at some point, but I do see more women doing things on social media. They're more likely to record videos that I'm a huge proponent of within our industry, because, you know, these platforms are there, they're free. It's a great way for us to differentiate ourselves, to become, you know, just an authority, right, within that space. So I totally agree, and I love that, and I think that that's for any dealership, that's a huge advantage.
Oh, for sure. There was the second part of your question, though. I know I went on a little long there, but the second part is, once you've got them in, how do you keep them?
Yeah.
Well, and that is, like, we talk about commitment. That's actually doing what you say you're going to do. I mean, and even if there's only 2 women in the dealership, start a women's networking. Like, go to your other dealers. It can be the same brand or not. I mean, we can. 20 groups exist for a reason, right? Like, create your own female 20 group within dealerships that are in your auto mall, and get the women together and get them to talk about the things that each dealer is doing to make a great environment for them, and share those best practices. That, you know, getting them involved again in something bigger is really, really important. And doing that, even if it's 1 hour every other week, tells them that you care about their opinion. And then have them come back and present it to you, and then let them take charge to make the change happen. Like, empower them to do that. Doing little things like that goes a long way. Yeah, no, it sure does. I totally agree. And that's another good idea. I mean, wow. Imagine all the takeaways that you can have from those sessions, you know what I mean? So that's very cool. You know, I wanted to talk about the service side. So that's where my background is. I was a service advisor, service manager. And I know that's a big area that I also feel like there's, you know, as part of the dealership experience, there's a lot of opportunity there. What are some insights or leave behinds that we can talk to on the service side of things? Oh my gosh. So service is huge, and it's huge for a couple of reasons. One is the woman is definitely choosing what the vehicle is being serviced, period. Number 2, she's probably the one bringing in the vehicle. It's very rare. I mean, we do get men, but it is women. And it's what's floating dealerships right now. I mean, let's face it, new car sales are soft, and they're going to continue to soften for a little bit before we see that uplift. And if we don't have the experience buttoned up in the service drive, then you're not able to float the dealership. And the dealership's going to lose money. So, I mean, I think the service drive is where it's at. Fixed ops is where it's at right now. And if we don't get that buttoned up, it doesn't matter how many cars you sell, because you make nothing on the vehicles you sell. It's all driven through how we maintain the vehicles. And I know I'm preaching to the choir right now. I actually had, like, recently, so every dealership that I work with, I go in and I secret shop. And we've developed the industry first, and I have yet to launch it. It will be in my 5-star certification program that I have. I have an online program that I do, which is $197 a month for the entire dealership, and they can learn about accountability, about empathy mapping, about how to deliver a 5-star experience, how to custom her experience. So how to tailor that experience to the female consumer. They learn about journey mapping and creating a brand promise and brand standards. It's all in there. But what is also... Just to interject really quick, can we put that in the show notes for anybody that listens? Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yes. I'd love that. So $197 a month. But what I love that's in there, and it hasn't been launched to the industry yet, it is an industry first, is I I have developed a 5-star experience assessment from the customer's point of view that would elevate the experience and live up to their expectations of experiences such as Ritz-Carlton, Starbucks, Four Seasons. And I've taken everything from outside the automotive industry and created an assessment that, you know, you could actually listen to a conversation and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, you're not doing this, and actually train your folks. So it's an industry first. It will help you elevate, create a 5-star experience, and it makes it super easy because everyone in the industry seems to like checklists. So it's really easy data points. But what it reveals in there, especially with the service drive, are really things that are quite simple. I use 4 S's, which is stop, stand, smile, and speak. So when you see a customer that are 15 feet away from you, stop what you're doing, stand up, smile at them as they're approaching you, and when they're about 5 to 10 feet, speak to them, greet them. So little nuggets like that, making eye contact, being knowledgeable, being anticipatory, collecting golden nuggets. Like there's all of these really awesome little tidbits that will elevate the experience in the service drive. And why it's so important is more so than sales, service is very process driven. It is like, I had this terrible experience. So back to I secret shop all of the dealerships I work with because I don't even trust what they're telling me. So I want to know firsthand what has actually happened from a customer's point of view. So I will go in, and most recently went into a service to service my Hyundai. It was 40 minutes away from me. So I went in, I drove in, and I took my vehicle in, and I stood by my car in the service drive for like roughly 13 minutes before anybody approached me. 13 minutes. Yeah. Then an older gentleman approached me and said, "Do you have your keys?" I said, "Yes." He puts his hand out. I put my keys in his hand. He didn't introduce himself. I don't know who he is. And he goes, "Thanks, darling." Thanks, darling.
Oh, man, no.
Right? And then he walks away from me without an explanation. I don't know what he's doing. And then about 3 minutes later, a service advisor, 2 desks behind me, says, "Come over here."
Oh my goodness, what is going on?
Oh my gosh. And then there was the iPad. I mean, I curse these things. They're wonderful from a process standpoint, but the dude never looked up at me. Like never. Just asked me all the questions he needed. Never looked up with me. Hopped off his chair, took his iPad, did the walk around, took the pictures, came back. Never once used my name. Never once asked me why I was 40 minutes out of the way. Never, just the only question he really asked me when he looked at me in the eyes, will you be staying or will you be leaving? And then when I said I would be staying, he walked ahead of me, like 5 feet ahead of me to get me to the waiting room. And the worst part of all of it, I mean, there's 2 bad parts. The one is the only time he used my name is when he wanted more money from me.
Yeah.
That's when he looked me in the eye. That's when he used my name. And that's when he came down to my level. Okay. When he wanted me to say yes to more, I say treatment, but that's what it is. More treatments on my car, more services on my car. That he used my name. He gave me the service or the experience I needed so that I would spend more money. And lastly, if you want me to fill out your CSI survey, and by the way, women are the ones that are filling it out. I triple dog dare anybody, and I use that word because my 9-year-olds use it. I triple dog dare you to look at your surveys and see the ratio between men and women. It is women 100% of the time that are filling out your surveys. I mean, majority of the time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that, what you said right now is so impactful to me. It kind of brought this other question, which is, how much of that do you think that we've gotten accustomed to the process so much that we've just completely forgotten about the person in front of us? We're just following the steps. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. We need to go from transaction to interaction. We need to start making that shift because people care more about experience than they do about the price or quality of what they're purchasing. They have to feel good. So we have to go from transaction to interaction. Now, it's not the fault of dealers, though. Like, I've worked excessively, like insane amounts with Honda. Now, Honda has a big push on service excellence and the customer experience, and they have driving excellence program. And this year they have, the last 3 years, they have a roadmap and a plan. But even when I pull up the OEMs expectations that they are training and putting all this money into, it is all process driven. There is no smile. There is no eye contact. There's no use the customer's name. There is no anticipate the needs. There's none of that. So it's not the dealership's fault per se, because they're following the expectations of what they're going to receive on the CSI survey. Unfortunately, the disconnect is customers don't care about your process. I mean, they don't care. But what they care about is how they feel.
Yes.
So you have to go from transaction to interaction. And so one of the worst parts, I say, filling out the CSI, I could not tell you to this day who my service advisor was. He didn't introduce himself once to me. I could not tell you.
Yeah.
There's another dude taking money from me and my hopes that he's not, spinning me around so I'm so dizzy that I don't know what's actually on my vehicle.
But it's so avoidable when you think about it, right? Because if you, like you said, if you make the customer feel good from the beginning, you'd be surprised how much they forgive. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my God, yes.
There's always issues, you know what I mean? But if that first touch with the customer leaves them an impression and they makes them feel good about doing business with you, they will forgive a lot after the fact when inevitably something goes wrong. You know what I mean? So,
well, service recovery is huge too. I mean, we're human and we're going to screw up. I teach this all the time. It's going to happen. We're not perfect. We're not robots. It's going to happen. But I believe we have a zero balance trust account with every customer that comes in, and it's our responsibility to put positive deposits into this trust account, because it takes 12 positive interactions to make up for one negative. So if we don't have a bank full of positive and we drop the ball, we're going into overdraft, and good luck getting back up. So you have to put these positive deposits in so that when you drop the ball, when you screw up, because it's going to happen, you can still have the faith of your customer. But on top of that, the greatest companies not only focus on the experience they're providing every day, but they make their service recovery experience as well. And then that kind of eclipses the service failure in itself.
Yeah.
So I have this acronym that I use. It's called HERO, which is hear, like actually hear and actively listen. Show empathy, compassion, because it's not about you, it's about the customer. Resolve the problem, make sure that it's resolved, and then just own it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's their fault or your fault. Just own it. And one of the things Ritz-Carlton does so well, when something goes wrong, they say, we will take care of that for you. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. We will take care of that for you. And when you do something like that, it doesn't matter why you dropped the ball.
Yes.
Because you're fixing it.
Yep. Yeah, it goes a long way for sure. Man, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. We're getting real close to that time. There is one question that I ask everybody that comes on the show, so we'll go to that in a minute. But I wanted to give you a moment to tell us a little bit about how we can get in touch with you. If you have any speaking engagements, anything coming up for 2020 that people can go check out or connect with you. Obviously, talk about your book and all those good things.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. My book is going to be available on pre-order shortly, so I'm very excited about that. Earning Her Business. That I will keep everybody a post. Follow me on social media: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm there. I post daily. I have a show called Transformation at the Core, and that's every Wednesday, Facebook Live. So follow me on Katie Mara's page on Facebook Live, and that's at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have some awesome guests on, and we share a crazy amount of nuggets on how to transform your dealership at the core. I am speaking, so I'm in Austin, Texas, first week of Feb, and then I'm in Salt Lake City working with a few groups, then I'm at NADA. So if you're going to be at NADA, I'm speaking 3 times. Once on the 5-star experience at the Fixed Ops Roundtable that Ted Ings is doing. So I'm actually following Brian Benstock. He's opening keynote, and then I'm right after him. And then I am speaking twice at NADA on female consumer. So cultivate a shopping experience she wants to shop in. So come on out, come see me. That is February 14th and February 16th. So you can see me twice at the conference. So I'm all over the place, but get in touch with me, direct message me. And then lastly, that will, hopefully we can put into the comments here, but I have this awesome platform that allows me to work with you at a really reduced rate. I mean, it's $2,300 for the year, $197 a month for your entire dealership to learn how to elevate your experience. It's all video based, and you get 2 live sessions, virtual live coaching sessions with me a month. So we all hop on a Zoom call and we share best practices and we talk about the topic of the month that I've put out there, because there's a topic and I've systematically put it out there. And it's $197 a month, which with all of the turnover that we have in the industry, it breaks the game of telephone. All you have to do is put them on that platform and they'll be able to watch it all. So that's something new that I've just launched this month, actually.
Yeah, folks. So all this information is going to be in the show notes. Make sure to go there and check it out. Definitely, you want to connect with Katie on her Facebook group and watch her show. I've watched it myself several times. It's really, really good. If you're looking for insights and just another resource, then definitely you want to tune in. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been super insightful. Again, I was really, your speech, when I saw you talk about it, it really, it made me look at things differently, and what a way to kind of differentiate ourselves, right? It seems simple, but it works, it makes sense rather.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thanks for sharing your insights here with me and the audience. There is one question that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and that question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
Oh my goodness. If we don't change, I see us, rooftops are going to close. Unfortunately, I see that customers are going to choose. I mean, with the way that the World Wide Web and technology is going, it's going to be frictionless. However, right now as it is, we're at a really pivotal time because customers are still choosing to walk into the dealership doors. And what's really beautiful is that they've done all their research. Like, they know exactly what they want. So all that these dealerships need to do is create relationships. And once you create those relationships, I mean, you're going to be their car guy, right? You're going to be the car woman, and they're not going to buy online. But if you don't focus on experience now, I mean, you should have been focusing on it 2-3 years ago. If we don't do it now, and we don't make sure that these customers feel valued and they give an experience that they deserve and expect, we're gonna roll a little backwards, I think, and I think right now is the time to make that choice, because I think dealerships could be alive and well and very viable 5, 10, 15 years down the road, because I believe that eventually there's going to be a reset. Eventually, people are going to want to talk to people, and that will continue to grow and evolve. But if we miss the boat on creating experiences, then they're not going to think of you when they're ready.
Right on. Yeah, there you have it, folks. You know what? One last question really quick, because you touched on something with that answer that kind of, triggered a question for me. Buying cars online, do you think because of the negative experience, like what you experienced, do you think that puts us more at risk with the female consumer, where they'll just want to take the dealership out of the whole equation and just go online and do that purchase directly there?
Yes and no, because it's a big purchase, and we like to have that relationship. So that's what I'm saying. If we continue to not realize her impact and start earning her business, then someone else is going to take it, and that is going to be, online, or a dealership that gets it. Right. We're forcing her into that corner. We don't need to. There you go. There it is, folks. Katie, thank you so much for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. That's all the time we have for today, folks. If you haven't done so, please make sure to share this podcast, share this episode with somebody that can take this information back to the dealership and implement it in their day-to-day. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's all the time we have. And as usual, we'll talk later.